Today I'm going to talk about what to know before PCSing to Bolling Air Force Base. Hi, my name is Malcolm Lawson. I'm an 11-year Air Force veteran. I spent 4 of those years stationed at Bolling Air Force Base. Now I'm out of the service, but I'm a residential real estate agent here in the state of Maryland, and I often work with a lot of service members and a lot of veterans in the area. So when I was stationed at Bolling, I was part of WACA, the White House Communication Agency. So I spent about 2 years working there on base, and then I spent about another 2 years actually working at the White House. And I also lived on base and base housing for about 1.5 years, 2 years. So I'm very familiar with the base. I know it inside and out. So probably the first thing that you're going to realize when you arrive there is that 295 sucks. So 295 is the highway right outside of base. It's not fun. It often backs up with traffic. A lot of traffic going in and out of DC take 295. There's also several speed traps on 295, and they often move where that camera is. So Bolling Air Force Base is also the home of Marine One, and it's pretty cool. You see it all the time on base. Just kind of a heads up though, they often do all kinds of exercises in the area, and they fly very low. They do touch and goes on different spots on base. When I lived on base housing, they used to wake me up all the time in the middle of the night, be flying right over the house or doing touch and goes in the field across from base housing. So just kind of a heads up that you'll see Marine One quite often when you're living there. So Bolling also has an excellent running trail right on the Potomac. When I lived on base, my wife and I used to walk on this trail all the time, and then in the morning time, WACA would make us run that trail as well. We used to call it the berm because it's kind of a berm to keep the river out. But it's actually a beautiful running trail to run on. You can see DC, you can see Reagan National Airport, you can watch the planes take off and everything. It's paved, so it's a really cool running trail. If you're into running, I think you'll definitely enjoy that. Speaking of the Potomac, Bolling Air Force Base also has a little marina that you can rent out a slip and keep your boat there if you choose to. You often see people fishing there as well, right into the Potomac. Every year for 4th of July, expect the base to get very, very crowded. There's all kinds of fireworks shows in DC at various locations, and watching it from, you can get an excellent view right there from Bolling Air Force Base. So on the 4th of July in the evening time, that base just gets packed full of service members from all over the area coming there just to watch the fireworks. So Bolling Air Force Base is also the home to the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency. So there are a lot of civilians on base, and it's kind of odd because DIA, they don't have enough parking for all their employees. So you often see them parking just all over the place. There's a park right across the street, and they're often in that parking lot. And yeah, there's just a massive amount of employees there at the DIA. So being in DC, Bolling Air Force Base has pretty high BAH rate. For an E5 with a dependent, your BAH is going to be about $2,300 a month. So Bolling does offer base housing, and it's pretty good. I lived there for 1.5 years, 2 years, and it's not bad. They have townhouses, and they also have some single level houses. The officers have some really nice houses there. So if you want to live on base so you don't have to deal with the traffic on 295, that's definitely an option for you, and it's not a bad way to go. Now, if you want to put your BEH to work for you and start building equity in a home, you have a few options for moving off base. Pretty much you can move to Virginia or you can move to Maryland. In my experience, Virginia it's more expensive, a little bit more congested than Maryland is. You can still get some nice places, but it's a little bit more congested. There's 2 areas in Virginia I often see people move to. One is Alexandria. Alexandria, they have a lot of these massive condo complexes. So if you want to get a condo in a big massive tower and get up on the 30th floor and get some cool views of DC, Alexandria might be a good option for you. If you're looking for your own house, maybe a townhouse or something with a small yard, I often see people go south in Virginia down to Woodbridge, Virginia. That's a pretty common area for people to move to. Now, if you want to move on the Maryland side, I see a lot of people moving to Waldorf. And that's actually where I moved to when I was stationed there and where I still live right now. So kind of the benefits of Waldorf is you can get a nice detached home here for a decent price. Anywhere between $250,000 to about $300,000 is what you'd expect to pay for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom with a garage here in Waldorf. They also have some townhouses you can get, which are a little bit cheaper. So Waldorf's really nice because it has a lot of shopping. There's tons of shopping here. We have all the big box stores. We have smaller boutique stores. We have a movie theater. We have a mall. We have a indoor gun range. We have an outdoor gun range. There's a lot of shopping here in Waldorf. We're also really close to the country, so there's plenty of national and state parks not far from Waldorf. If you want to go exploring, if you want to go hiking, camping, those kind of things, there's plenty of options for that in Waldorf. The other area I often see people move to is Calvert County. Get to Calvert County, you take Route 4 off of 495, and that heads east. And Calvert County is a county right next to the Chesapeake Bay. So people who move there often want more space, they want more land. Calvert County also has some pretty good school zones. I would encourage you to go look up the ratings of school zones there, compare that to Waldorf. I've also seen people who move to Calvert County if they're into boating and fishing and they want to have a boat slip right there in the Chesapeake Bay. So those are the two areas I often see in Maryland. It's Waldorf, Maryland, and then Calvert County, really anywhere in northern Calvert County. So because the cost of living is pretty high here in Maryland, that's why your BAH rate is so much higher here compared to other places, and also why we have your maximum VA entitlement is much higher here than the standard VA entitlement. I think the standard VA entitlement is I think $425,000. Here it's about $680,000. So what that means, that is the maximum that you could qualify for a VA loan. Now you do not need $680,000 to buy a home here. And like I said before, about $250,000 to $300,000 is what I would expect to pay for a nice, decent home here. But having that maximum VA entitlement, it is nice if you wanted to ever purchase more than one home using the VA loan. And that is an option. A lot of people don't know that, but you can purchase one home as long as both of them is below your maximum VA entitlement. So you got to look at your VA entitlement is pretty much your maximum loan amount. And personally, that's what I did. I purchased a home here in Maryland for $210,000. I then moved on base for about a year, and then I purchased a second home for $240,000. And I can do that because the two home prices are below the maximum VA entitlement amount. So now I've got two homes. I didn't have to put anything down into each of them, and one of them's producing a rental income for me. So it's a pretty good deal. So if you do want to buy a home when you PCS here, there's really two ways to go about it. One way, and there's pros and cons of both ways. So one way is that you can fly out here ahead of time. I usually recommend about 45 to 60 days before your report no later than date. You can look at a few properties, you can put in an offer and get a home under contract. It'll then take about 45 days to actually close on that property before it's yours. And you can do all that remotely. And you can even look at properties remotely. I've done that with other service members before. And so the benefit to that is when you PCS here, you can move directly into your new home, right? You own it outright at that point. The other option is that you can first PCS here, you can stay in base housing, then go house hunting, and purchase a home, maybe another 45 days or so after you get under contract before you can actually move into it and you own it. So kind of the downside of that is now you and your family have to move in a temporary housing for about 2 months and then move a second time into your permanent residence. So the benefit to purchasing, visiting first and then purchasing, is you move directly into the home. I have had service members tell me though that it gets a little stressful when you're out processing one base and you're trying to purchase another home at the same time. So I've had a few people who said, you know what, just screw it, I'm gonna buy a house when I get there. And they just kind of put up with the inconvenience of having to move into temporary housing and then into the permanent home. So those are the kind of two options to purchase a home. And I have worked with service members before where they don't want to travel out here ahead of time. And what I've done in the past is I'll go visit the properties for them and I'll take a little video recording of the home and email it to them. I've even done a live stream where I stream it and they can tell me, hey, look at the kitchen, look at the floor, do whatever. So that is an option. I have helped people buy homes without them ever actually visiting the area in the first place. If you guys want to get familiar with the area, make sure to check out some of my other videos. I have ones about the top 10 national parks in the area, free things to do in the area, a little bit about the history, about abandoned places in Maryland. I got a bunch of cool videos just talking about Maryland to help educate you. I'm also very active in the PCS'ing the Maryland Facebook group. So if you have any questions about the area, you need recommendations, go on Facebook and type in PCS'ing the Maryland, and you can ask questions on there. And I'm often on there answering questions for people as well. And if you guys are thinking about buying a home here when you PCS to Andrews, I'd be happy to work with you. I work largely with service members PCSing to Andrews and Bolling and DC and Fort Meade in the area, and I also work with a lot of veterans in the area as well. I'll have all my contact information down in the description below. You can also go check out my website, thelawsongroupmd.com. Thanks so much for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one.